Okay guys, today is going to be a little bit different of a video because today I'm going to be going over three laptops, yes, three laptops that are at the end of their life and I don't want to mess with fixing them for one reason or another. So I figured today we could give them a nice eulogy, a proper send-off before I tomorrow wake up in the morning and go to turn these into e-waste. So let us all have one final word for these laptops. No, I will not sell you them. They're going to be recycled, as they should be. So, for starters, I'd like to introduce to you the one I've had the longest. And this is a Toshiba Satellite, which is barely fitting into frame. Okay, I'm going to adjust the camera. Apologies about the jump cut, but as you can see, pretty standard little 14-inch laptop, except it's missing something. Yeah, like the screen. Believe it or not, that's why it's here, is because the screen is missing. Well, that's not entirely true. There are other reasons it's here, but we'll go into that. This particular laptop was one that came into my possession. Apparently, it used to belong to one of my teachers in high school. They essentially left it for dead and told me, hey, you know, if you want it, you take it, you fix it, whatever. So I did, and for a while it actually kind of worked. Of course, the screen that came with it had a big crack in it, so I did actually find a replacement screen that was the same size, stuck it in there, and gave it to my brother, and it became his laptop for like a year in middle school. Then the screen broke again, and it didn't break from impact like it did last time. It just stopped working. I tried to replace the driver board, didn't do anything. I, checked all the cabling, make sure nothing was kinked. Didn't matter. No matter what I did, the screen just refused to work. I even got a third screen that came from a friend's laptop. Well, I guess his father anyway. And we weren't even going to put it in there. We were just curious if it would work. And when we plugged it in, despite the fact that it worked just fine on the other laptop that we took it from, it refused to turn on at all for this one. So something in the internal circuitry that drives the built-in LCD is just dead. So it was at that point that we opted to remove the screen assembly entirely. I now use the top half of that the laptop as a clipboard. And if I can find it, I'll take a picture and show you. And it's been my clipboard for a few years now because people go, "Oh, what is that, a tablet?" And I'm like, "Nope, it's just a regular clipboard." And it's very funny. People get very confused by it. But if that was the only thing that was wrong with this machine, then, I might be willing to put up with some of its quirks and keep using it. So let's turn it over to the back and we can talk about that. So one of the first things you can see is the battery's gone. And I actually have the battery. It's in a box that I keep, somewhere behind me that's just full of dead batteries. And the battery isn't dead. It does actually hold a charge. It doesn't hold a long charge, maybe, like an hour or so. But it holds a charge, which is pretty impressive for this thing, considering this Vista Home Premium sticker right here. Ugh. Which, yeah, you can see that's pretty worn out right there. Pretty standard DDR2 RAM. This thing has had more than 3 or 4 RAM configurations in its lifetime. When I first got it, it had a 512 meg stick, and that was it. I upgraded it to a full gig, and then later on to 2 gigs. There wasn't really much point in pushing it beyond 2 gigs, though, because the CPU in this thing is a Core Duo. Yes, that's right, a Core Duo. Not a Core 2 Duo, a Core Duo. Which are 32-bit only. Which is why I'm now getting rid of this machine, because, frankly, that's crap in 2021 or 2022. 32-bit only is dead. Like, as far as mainstream software goes, things that I could actually do that would be useful on this machine, that's it. Game over. And to think, this machine even had a brief stint as a Minecraft server for me and my friends. Actually, it filled that role for God, 5 years or so. This thing really did have a prolific life under my ownership. It did a lot of things. For a while, it was even like my main computer in my bedroom. I just brought in a monitor and hooked it up and was just like, la da 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 da. You know, it was pretty decent, actually. But it's a bit long in the tooth, and yep, no disk drive. There's a reason for that. I've actually removed it at some point and picked up this bad boy, which, yeah, just fits in the DVD slot and lets you put another hard drive in. And I was using this as a boot server for my PS2 games, which was kind of working. I decided to end that program because I thought I could use my NAS for it, but my NAS isn't quite working out either. I'm going to have to do some diagnostics on that, figure out why that's not working. It's just refusing the connection, even though I can ping it from the PC. Oh, it's super annoying. Let's not get into that right now. Back to the laptop, though. It's also missing this door. I know it's somewhere, or at least I had it up to like a few months ago. I know I had it. I don't know where it went. Doesn't really matter, though, because like I said, it's not really useful. I do have a charger for it, and you can see it has a dial-up modem. Ooh, yeah, early days of Vista. Who remembers that? 10100 Ethernet. No gigabit here. A weirdly placed rear USB. VGA. S-Video for some reason. Another USB. Firewire. And a PC slot. This is actually like the newer kind of PC card. It's not card bus, unfortunately. Or wait, no, I'm sorry. It is card bus. I'm mistaken. That is a card bus slot. In fact, let me get one of my card bus cards and I'll show you. There we go. So see, standard card bus card. Fits just fine. Yeah, all right. Now this did actually have internal Wi-Fi when I got it. It has since been removed for various reasons. One of the biggest reasons being that it was a right pain in the ass. You'll see it has a hardware Wi-Fi switch right here. This was one of the reasons it was such a pain in the ass, because for a while this switch was permanently stuck on off. And like, it wasn't a problem of the switch not being able to physically move to on. It was just internally it thought it was off. And one day it just started working again. So I have no idea what's going on with that. This thing's always been a bit quirky. Microphone and headphone jack on the front with the famous Toshiba volume dial, and an SD card slot. Now on this side, 2 USBs and where the DVD drive would go. So this thing has 4 USB 2 ports, which is pretty decent actually. The speakers on it weren't half bad, and honestly this thing could even decode HD video just fine. So why am I getting rid of it? 32-bit only, missing parts, kind of just a pain in the ass, and I don't want to deal with it anymore. I work a regular job now. I can actually afford a better old laptop than this to play around with. So, unfortunately, this one goes to the recycler, where it will be turned into new laptops, or maybe a microwave or something, who knows. Whatever's going to become of this, well, I salute you. You were a good laptop. You did everything I could have asked you to, and the original keyboard is still intact, which, wow. Considering this thing was in a high school and everything else, that's pretty impressive. So, my friend, my old laptop here, I say farewell. We on the internet say farewell. A moment of silence for our fallen comrade, everybody. Okay, next up, we have this Lenovo laptop here with a Razer sticker on it. It's pretty dusty. You'll notice this one actually has a screen. And other than missing the DVD drive, actually not in too bad a shape. Until you open it up and you realize, it's pretty worn. Look how worn that trackpad is. Look how worn this sticker is. Like, yeah. This was a very well-loved laptop. and rightfully so. It belonged to a friend of mine, and with his grace, I will link a video that he did with me, assuming I can find one in our playlist somewhere. Look for that card somewhere up in the description. But, yeah, this thing has definitely seen better days. You know, like I mentioned, it was his laptop. He used it for work, so it got carried around a lot. And yeah, like there's melted plastic here, like a dent, and oh, this right here. This is probably the biggest reason I'm getting rid of this. That charging port right there. You may think, well, you know, what's wrong with that charging port? Sorry about that. A school bus decided to drive by. Anyways, you'll see this jack. You'll be like, what's wrong with that? Watch this. It went down. It sinks in with the littlest of effort. And then in order to get it back, you have to open this up and pry it back into place. Complete safety hazard right there. You get a couple of very crusty USBs with the DVD drive in the middle. Headphone, microphone, absolutely nothing on the back, except for this battery, which I should probably put in my battery recycling container. I will do that in a minute. And then over here, very broken vents. Seriously, do these vents ever survive? I mean, I know on the last one they did, but most laptops I see, these vent covers, they just get destroyed so quickly. VGA, gigabit Ethernet this time. HDMI, hey, we like that. 2 USB 3s. Now, aside from the wear and tear this laptop has had, you may be thinking, well, this still seems workable. Why don't you fix it up? And the main reason for that is to actually be able to use this thing, I would have to actually replace the plastic case on top because of how screwed up the jack is and everything. And by the time you go through and replace all of that, you may as well just get a different laptop, honestly. Not to mention, too, this one is built in such a way where disassembling it is... Well, I shouldn't say impossible, because we've done it. And by we, I mean my friends and I. We've actually taken this laptop apart before. So it's not like it's some kind of impossible mission to try to take it apart. But it is a fiddly process. And honestly, I could get one in better shape with similar specs for maybe $100 if I really wanted. So I'm just not super worried about this. Especially since this is from the Windows 8 era. Like, early Windows 8. You can see that Windows 8 sticker right there. And that's just a generation of laptops that, while technically are pretty good, it just doesn't appeal to me, like, personally. As a human being, I'm not super invested in these kind of early Windows 8, late Windows 7 era laptops. They're just a bit boring. And furthermore, the consumer ones, like these, are built in such a way where disassembly is not only strongly discouraged, but could actually break things irreparably inside of it. Let's not forget my old laptop that I had for like 7 or 8 years before it completely and literally fell apart. Like, just literally fell apart. From the amount of times I'd been in it to upgrade or fix things, it just... So while all the hardware in it still worked, fixing it meant replacing the whole case and just not going to mess with it. And that's why I don't really buy home stuff anymore. At least, you know, laptops built for consumers anyway. Because they're just a right pain in the ass to do anything with. And most of the ones these days you can't even upgrade. What's up with that? Ugh. But yeah, either way, this isn't a bad laptop by any means, but it's very beat up. It's very tired. And it overheats. And while you probably could go in and repaste it and get it working just fine, like I said, taking it apart would probably damage things in the process. And with how fragile of a state the rest of this is in, and like how gross the keyboard is, like, Mike, I'm sorry, man, I love you, but you have like some acid sweat on another level. Like, look at this sticker. This is all from just his palm being here. He didn't even have this laptop all that long either. I think he used it actively for like 3 years. And then the rest of the time it sat in a bag, unless he needed to bust it out for like a quick game of Robot Roller Derby Disco Dodgeball or something. This was, you know, very roughly handled. And when it comes to laptops that I want to keep around and try to preserve, I like them to be in a bit better a shape. Like, I don't mind too much if it's got like scratches in the plastic or whatever, because that's going to happen. But when it gets to the point when you have stuff like this, where there's just like a burnt spot right here where the plastic has melted and warped, or this charging jack just... I just don't think it's worth my time to restore it. Honestly. Not when I can get ones in much better shape with similar specs for a lower price. So, as much as it pains me to say, and I know it'll probably pain Mike when he realizes what I've done, give a moment, everyone. Give a moment for our fallen comrade here. Okay, the last one is the most unusual of the three, at least if you know me. This is a 2011? I think it's a 2011 MacBook Pro. No, I'm positive it's a 2011 MacBook Pro because of when it was purchased, but we'll get on to that. This particular MacBook Pro was not mine originally. It actually belonged to a friend of mine, and he used it through college and got along very well with it. As you can see, I even replaced the feet and stuff. I'll get into that in a minute. And if you open it up, if you open it up, there we go, you'll see it's in actually really decent physical shape. The keys aren't all discolored or warped or anything. The metal's in decent kit. Heck, even the screen, which, you can see my face on, don't look. But the screen is in really good shape. No cracks, nothing. So why on earth am I getting rid of this? What sense does that make? Well, to answer that story, we gotta rewind a little bit and tell you the circumstances of how I acquired this thing. So like I mentioned before, it was a friend of mine who had this. He was the original owner. He used it. He liked it. He ended up getting into PC gaming. And if you know anything about Macs, you'll know that they don't like to run games particularly well, if at all. And there are various reasons behind that. I'm not going to criticize Apple for not emphasizing, PC gaming as one of their major markets, because it's unnecessary for them. They do other stuff well. They don't need to also be the best at running video games. That's okay. But because he got into PC gaming, he got a fancy new Windows gaming laptop with all this built-in video card and 500 gigabytes of RAM and all this other exciting stuff. And his little MacBook Pro was put on the wayside. At the same time, I was finishing up college. My main laptop, as I mentioned before, had literally fallen apart to pieces. And I was stuck using crappy old laptops. I had a 2007? Was it 2007? It was either 2007 or 2009 MacBook Pro, before they did the unibody thing. And that was working okay, but the graphics card in it meant that I'd never be able to get past Lion, OS X Lion. And I couldn't install anything greater than Vista on the Windows side. So I was a bit stuck. And, not one to criticize old software or anything, but it's not exactly great when you have to do collaborative online work with people. So I sought out a replacement and convinced my buddy to sell this to me for the princely sum of $150. He included the charger and everything, and it was beautiful and it worked. And I put an SSD in it, and oh, it was glorious. And like that last month or two of college that I had with this thing, really, really great. And I'd even been playing around with it, got it to install the latest at the time, which I believe was Mojave. You know, it was working great. This was an ideal. I was happy with this. As weird as that is to hear from me, I was happy with this MacBook. Sure, it wasn't the fastest thing around, and it hitched sometimes and even crashed, although not as frequently as Windows 98 did for me, but I still thought it was pretty good. You know, it was making me consider maybe my next laptop should be a MacBook, like a new one. All right. So, eventually, fast forward, I got my job and I bought an HP EliteBook 845 G7. And if you hear HP and you think, well, that's not Apple, you're right, it's not. I didn't go with a MacBook. And since I was going to be leaving that ecosystem anyway, I was like, you know, this is still fairly competent. I could probably sell it on or something. And that was kind of the line I was thinking until my mom said, oh, hey, I really want a laptop. So I said, okay, let me fix this up for you. You'll be happy with this MacBook. Oh, something's going on with my PC. I bet it's probably the phone I have hooked up. Let me just unplug that real quick. There we go. But yeah, I was like, you'll be happy with this, Ma. You can use, you know, all the stuff you're used to, blah, blah, blah. I think I was even going to put Boot Camp on here so it would be Windows instead of Mac, because she's more familiar with Windows. And believe me, I did not want to sit there and teach my mother how to use a Mac computer for God knows how long that would be. So instead, this was going to be it for her. So I open it up by flipping it over on the back here, and there's a bunch of screws, and they're very tiny and fiddly and annoying. And I think there's even some hidden under the feet. I don't remember for sure. I'm pretty sure there are. And while I was working on everything, while I was restoring this, I ran into a problem. At some point, something that I did when I was cleaning it out, because I like removed the motherboard, repasted it, everything else, at some point I broke something. And the worst part is I have no idea what it was that I broke. Because now it won't turn on at all. It won't do anything at all. And yes, I did check the keyboard. The keyboard connector is fully in place. There's no problems there. I think it's something else. Perhaps, you know, like a transistor or something got scratched off the motherboard by accident. Whatever it was I accidentally did to this thing, it died. And it died hard. To the point where even though I had painstakingly restored this thing, made it, you know, cleaned up and everything else, it was gone. It was dead, Jim. I think I had this for about 6 or 7 months before I killed it on accident. And that is why I will not work on Apple stuff. Is because, holy crap, just getting to the point where I could, you know, repaste it and everything was such a colossal pain in the bum. And it ended up killing the damn thing anyway. So, yeah. Tragic, I know. For a really good MacBook Pro, too. I do feel a little bad about just recycling it, but I mean, you know, it's mine and I don't want to mess with it. I could try to sell it on eBay. I've had luck with that in the past, selling broken up MacBooks that didn't work to people online. But honestly, there's two things with that. The one, I'd need a safe way to ship it, and I don't have any. Okay, so normally when I ship out laptops, I have laptop boxes from work, from laptops that we get there. HP changed their packaging design on those. So it doesn't accommodate things like a MacBook well anymore, because it used to have this foam that you could like rip off sections of to accommodate a smaller or bigger laptop. Oh, it was great. But now it's like this weird cardboard holder thing, and it won't work for laptops that aren't exactly the same dimensions as whatever one you're, taking it from. So, with that not being able to work for me, I could just wrap it up in a bunch of bubble tape or whatever and sell it, and I don't want to do that either. The last thing I want is for it to get to someone's house and the United Parcel Smashers decide to play, football with it and just break through the screen. And then the buyer goes, "Hey, you sold me a bad laptop." Rah, 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 rah. And, we go through all that drama. I would rather just avoid it. So, to e-waste it goes, where it will be recycled, hopefully into brand new MacBook Pros. Or, whatever it wants to be, I guess. Who knows? Who knows what a computer dreams of? Do androids dream of electric sheep? Well, here's a better question. Do MacBook Pros dream of being recycled into iMacs? Or do they dream of being recycled into, like, ATMs or something? Maybe after a lifetime of scholarly scholarly achievement and or graphic design, they want to just be taken seriously. Who knows? Well, let's have a moment of silence for this laptop now, ladies and gentlemen. Whoa, okay, I know I said 3, but I actually have this 4th one here. And I actually alluded to it in another video. Perhaps that video hasn't come out yet. I don't remember what video it was in. But as you can see, this one is a whole heck of a lot of nasty. The surface is kind of sticky and unpleasant and has like this brown flaking stuff. Oh, you can't even see that. But it has like this brown flaking stuff here. It's missing a key, which doesn't even matter because 90% of the keys on the keyboard don't even work. The screen is very broken. I'm sure you can see that. Yeah, look at that. See that big black splotch? That's broken LCD crystals. And yeah, this thing is kind of gross. When I first got it, it stank of cat pee. So why am I showing this to you here and now? Well, for a reason, actually. I have been thinking about this computer for a while. Because while it was gross and stank of cat pee and everything else, I have actually found all the parts needed to restore this. Unfortunately, those parts total over $100. Because it needs a lot. Like, a lot. Like, oh boy. It needs a keyboard, it needs a screen. I would like to replace this whole top piece here, although I suppose I could get away with just washing it and hoping for the best. If I do that, it'll cut down the price by like $40, like 30 or 40 bucks. So maybe I'll just go with the new screen and keyboard. Throw in an SSD, maybe a RAM upgrade, and hey, this thing could be pretty cool. So I'm not going to get rid of it yet. I'm actually going to look out for parts if they show up cheap enough, and I might restore this in the future. Hey! So because of that, I'll be saving the story of how I got this and why it's in my possession and everything else for that video. And just leave you with, look forward to that. Because perhaps, despite those other ones being too far gone for me, perhaps this little, 12 or 13-inch Toshiba will be the one to beat the odds and live on. We can only hope. So, if you'd like to see that, if you'd like to see me restore this sometime, leave a comment and tell me what kinds of things you'd like to see done to it. Or, anything else. If you want to see me restore other laptops, it's something I've been thinking about doing, is hunting out interesting looking laptops on eBay, fixing them up, and showing them off to you guys. Talking about kind of the cool things they can do or whatever else. So that sounds like an appealing course of action for me to take. Tell me. And furthermore, if you'd like to see more tinkering videos in the future, tell me. I only know what you guys want based on how much you watch it and what you say in the comments. So, if any of the stuff that we do here sounds like a plan, then, we can do that. And if you guys like this video, perhaps one day I can walk you through my collection of laptops and we can talk about each one and the specific things I've done to it over the years, etc. But for now, I'm going to leave you guys with this Toshiba. And to show you that I'm not getting rid of it, I've got a case for it. Hey, all good laptops need a case, right? And this one, I know it says $10 on the price tag, which you probably can't read, but I only paid $7 for it because it was 25% off. So, to show that this is still in the running for a restoration, into the case it goes, until such time as I acquire all the things necessary to make it work again. Because sometimes you guys like a happy ending. So yeah. Perfect. So, if there's anything else you guys want to see in the future, tell me in the comments. And for now, let us take a moment to remember our fallen comrades. Good night, everybody. Hope you do well. Hope you're doing well, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.